सवाल पूछा है, जब कोई काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता तो आप हमें नौकरी इतनी ध्यान से चुनने को क्यों कहते हैं। अच्छा सवाल है। कह रहे हैं काम तो कोई छोटा बड़ा होता नहीं, हमने ऐसा ही सुना है, बड़े लोग ऐसा ही बता गए हैं, तो फिर आप हमसे क्यों बार बार कहते रहते हैं कि काम बहुत ध्यान से चुनो, ध्यान से चुनो। देखो, कोई काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता, ये बात पूरी नहीं है। ये बात गलत तो नहीं है पर पूरी भी नहीं है। पूरी बात क्या है समझो। अगर तुमने सही लक्ष्य चुन लिया है तो उस सही लक्ष्य की तरफ जाने के लिए, उस सही लक्ष्य की सेवा में फिर तुम कोई भी काम करो, वो ना छोटा है ना बड़ा है, वो बस सही है। वो काम सही क्यों है? क्योंकि वो सही लक्ष्य तक पहुंचने के लिए किया जा रहा है। समझ रहे हो? अब तुम्हारा लक्ष्य है, मान लो कोई लड़ाई जीतना, उदाहरण ले लो। वो लड़ाई जीतने के लिए हो सकता है कि कभी तुम्हें विपक्षी सेना के सेनापति से लड़ाई करनी पड़े, और यह भी हो सकता है कि कभी विपक्षी सेना के किसी प्यादे से लड़ाई करनी पड़े। तो कभी तुम एक बड़ी लड़ाई लड़ रहे हो, कभी तुम बहुत एक अदने से प्यादे से लड़ाई लड़ रहे हो। लेकिन ये दोनों ही लड़ाइयां बराबर की हैं, बराबर की उपयोगिता की हैं। इन दोनों ही लड़ाइयों में किसी को छोटा और बड़ा नहीं बोला जा सकता, क्योंकि दोनों लड़ाइयां सही लक्ष्य के लिए लड़ी जा रही हैं। बात समझ रहे हो? चलो मैं एक और उदाहरण देता हूं। तुम्हारा कमरा बड़ा गंदा है, सब सामान उसमें तितर बितर फैला हुआ है, ठीक है, बहुत धूल है फर्श पर, और टेबल पर बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो व्यर्थ फैली हुई हैं। मेज़ पर कहीं फ़ोन रखा है, कहीं टोपी रखी है, कहीं तेल रखा है, कहीं कुछ रखा है। और बिस्तर पर तुम्हारी तनख्वाह के नोट भी रखे हुए हैं, 2-2 हज़ार के बहुत सारे नोट है जो पड़े हुए हैं। तुम कहीं से कुछ कैश निकाल के लाए थे, गिन रहे थे, फिर तुमने बिस्तर पर ही छोड़ दिया। अब तुम्हें कमरे को ठीक करना है, साफ करना है, संवारना है। कमरे को ठीक करने के लिए तुम क्या क्या करोगे? एक क्षण होगा जब तुम झाड़ू लेकर के पांव तले की धूल को साफ कर रहे होगा ना एक क्षण ऐसा, क्योंकि तुम्हें क्या करना है? कमरा साफ करना है। तो कमरा साफ करने के लिए यह भी जरूरी है कि पांव तले की धूल साफ की जाए, और कमरा साफ करने के लिए यह भी जरूरी है कि वो बिस्तर पर जो नोट बिखरे पड़े हैं, 10-20 हज़ार, हो सकता है 50 हज़ार, उनको भी साफ किया जाए। उनको इकट्ठा करके उनकी गड्डी बनाई जाएगी, फिर तुम उन्हें कहीं पर रख दोगे। तो क्या तुम ये कहोगे कि झाड़ू लगाना फर्श पर छोटा काम था और नोटों को इकट्ठा करना बड़ा काम था? नहीं, वो दोनों ही काम बराबर के थे। कोई काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता, क्योंकि ये दोनों ही काम एक ही लक्ष्य की तरफ के थे। और लक्ष्य क्या था? कमरे की सफाई। तो लक्ष्य चूंकि एक था, इसीलिए चाहे तुम धूल की सफाई करो चाहे नोट की सफाई करो, वो एक बराबर बात थी। तो कोई काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता अगर लक्ष्य सही है। लेकिन अगर लक्ष्य ही गलत है तो छोटा काम भी छोटा है और बड़ा काम भी छोटा है। फिर बिल्कुल ऐसा कहा जाएगा कि काम कोई सही है और कोई काम गलत है। जो भी काम करा जाए सही उद्देश्य के लिए, वो काम सही है, और सही काम में कुछ भी छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता। और जो भी काम करा जाए गलत उद्देश्य के लिए, वो काम गलत है। और गलत काम में छोटा काम भी छोटा है और बड़ा काम भी छोटा है, क्योंकि छोटा भी गलत है और बड़ा भी गलत है। ये अंतर समझना। ये ना हो कि तुम कहने लग जाओ कि साहब कोई काम छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता, तो पॉकेट मारी का काम हो और चाहे डॉक्टर का काम हो, बराबर ही है ना, कोई काम छोटा बड़ा तो होता ही नहीं है। फिर तो चाहे कसाई का काम हो या किसी जीवन देने वाले का काम हो, वो दोनों काम बराबर है, क्योंकि कोई काम छोटा बड़ा तो होता ही नहीं। नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। काम सही और गलत होते हैं। जो काम तुम अपने क्षुद्र स्वार्थ के लिए कर रहे हो वो काम गलत है। उस काम से तुम्हें भी नुकसान होगा और तुम दुनिया का भी बेड़ा गर्क करोगे। और जो काम तुम अपने से आगे जा करके एक बड़े उद्देश्य के लिए कर रहे हो, जिसमें सिर्फ तुम्हारा अपना निजी स्वार्थ ही नहीं है, उसमें बहुत सारे और लोगों की भी भलाई है, वो काम सही है। और भी बहुत तरीकों से सही और गलत को परिभाषित किया जा सकता है, जो एक बहुत सीधा और आसान तरीका हो सकता है समझने के लिए, वो बताया। जब भी कभी तुम कह रहे हो कि मैं फलाना काम कर रहा हूं ताकि उससे मुझे और ज्यादा भोगने को मिलेगा, कंज्यूम करने को मिलेगा, मेरी जेब में पैसा आ जाएगा, मैं मौज करूंगा, मस्ती करूंगा, यहां घूमूंगा, ये खरीदूंगा, बेहतर शादी हो जाएगी, बड़ा घर मिल जाएगा, आहा, और बड़े बिस्तर में और मुलायम गद्दे पर सोऊंगा, ये अगर तुम्हारी मंजिल है जीवन की, तो इस मंजिल तक पहुंचने के लिए तुम जो भी काम कर रहे हो वो छोटा ही है। हो सकता है इस मंजिल तक पहुंचने के लिए तुम कहो कि मैं कोई बड़ी सरकारी नौकरी पाना चाहता हूं। वो बड़ी सरकारी नौकरी तुम क्यों पाना चाह रहे हो? क्योंकि ले देकर तुम्हारा इरादा यही है कि बिस्तर बड़ा हो और गद्दा मुलायम हो और बीवी मस्त मिली हो और दहेज खूब खाया हो। तो अब तुमने भले ही देश की सबसे प्रतिष्ठित नौकरी को पा लिया हो, लेकिन यह काम तुमने अभी भी बहुत छोटा किया, क्योंकि तुम्हारा उद्देश्य ही गलत था। हो सकता है कि तुमने प्रवेश परीक्षा में पहला स्थान पा लिया हो, तुम्हारी ऑल इंडिया 1 रैंक आई है, लेकिन वो ऑल इंडिया 1 रैंक किस उद्देश्य से आई है? मंसूबा क्या है? मंसूबा यही है कि अब अंदर घुसेंगे और बिल्कुल अब दबा के खाएंगे। तो ये बहुत छोटा काम किया है तुमने, क्योंकि उद्देश्य ही गलत था। दूसरी ओर अगर सही उद्देश्य हो और उस सही उद्देश्य के लिए ऐसा लगे भी कि तुम कोई बहुत छोटा सा काम कर रहे हो, यही धूल साफ करने जैसा, तो भी वो काम छोटा नहीं है। ये जो भेद है, जो परिभाषा है, ये बिल्कुल साफ साफ याद रखना। जिंदगी काम ही है। हमारा जीवन कर्म के अलावा कुछ नहीं है। जो व्यक्ति जिंदगी में गलत काम चुन रहा है उसने जिंदगी को गलत अंजाम दे दिया। जिंदगी में गलत काम माने जिंदगी का गलत अंजाम। तो कोई भी नौकरी मत कर लेना, कोई भी काम मत करने बैठ जाना, ये मत अपने खोपड़े में बात फैला लेना कोई भी काम करें बात तो बराबर ही है ना। नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। देखो कि क्या चीज करने लायक है, यूं ही कोई भी काम नहीं करना शुरू कर देते। ठीक है, चलो अगला सवाल है, मैं सारे संसार की फिक्र क्यों करूं? मैं चुपचाप अपनी छोटी सी दुनिया में खुश क्यों न रहूं? ऐसा पूछा है। तुम्हें सारे संसार की फिक्र इसलिए करनी पड़ेगी क्योंकि तुम सारे संसार से हजारों करोड़ों तरीकों से जुड़े हुए हो। तुम्हारे मन का एक एक कोना संसार से जुड़ा हुआ है। तुम्हारे शरीर की एक एक कोशिका संसार से जुड़ी हुई है। तो ये भावना या ये प्रयास कि मुझे दुनिया से क्या लेना देना है, मैं तो अपना एक छोटा सा घर बनाऊंगा और अपने परिवार के 2-4 लोगों के साथ दरवाज़ा बंद करके खुशी से रहूंगा, ये सपना तो हो सकता है, हकीकत नहीं। ऐसा तुम चाह तो सकते हो पर यथार्थ कभी ऐसा नहीं होगा। तुम समझते ही नहीं कि तुम कौन हो, तुम जानते ही नहीं कि मन क्या है और इंसान क्या है। इसीलिए तुम ऐसी भावना रख रहे हो, ऐसी इच्छा रख रहे हो कि दुनिया भाड़ में जाए और मैं तो अपने 2-4 लोगों के साथ मस्त रहूँगा। ये संभव नहीं है ना, ये हो नहीं पाएगा। इसीलिए तो सही स्वार्थ को ही परमार्थ बोला गया है। अगर अपनी भी भलाई चाहते हो, स्वार्थ यही ना, अपनी भलाई चाहना, अगर अपनी भी भलाई चाहते हो तो तुम्हें परमार्थ करना ही पड़ेगा। सही स्वार्थ बराबर परमार्थ। तुम ठीक रह नहीं सकते जब तक दुनिया ठीक नहीं है। मुझे मालूम है एक इंसान के शायद बस में नहीं है पूरी दुनिया को ठीक कर देना, लेकिन एक इंसान के बस में इतना समझना तो है ना कि व्यक्तिगत रूप से तुम्हारी कोई मुक्ति, तुम्हारा कोई आनंद नहीं हो सकता अगर तुम एक जलती हुई दुनिया के बीच में हो। और तुम ही नहीं दुनिया से 1000 तरीकों से जुड़े हुए हो। वो जिनको तुम कह रहे हो कि मैं चुपचाप अपनी छोटी सी दुनिया में खुश क्यों न रहूं, उस छोटी सी दुनिया में और जो 2-4 छोटे छोटे तुम्हारे लोग हैं वो सब भी दुनिया से हर तरीके से जुड़े हुए हैं। दुनिया अगर भ्रष्ट होगी, दुनिया अगर दूषित होगी, दुनिया अगर बीमार होगी तो तुम्हारे घर के लोग भी बीमार होकर रहेंगे। वायरस को तो तुम फिर भी बाहर रख सकते हो सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग करके, लेकिन मन को तुम सामाजिक प्रभावों से बहुत नहीं बचा पाओगे। अब एक सामाजिक प्रभाव तो मुझे यही दिख रहा है तुम्हारे ऊपर कि तुमने ऐसा सवाल पूछा। ये सवाल भी कोई तुम्हारा अपना ओरिजिनल मौलिक निजी थोड़े ही है। ये भावना भी तुम्हारे भीतर किसी पिक्चर से ही आ रही होगी कि हीरो हीरोइन और उनके 2 छोटे छोटे खरगोश जैसे बच्चे एक नन्हे से द्वीप में अपनी नन्ही सी दुनिया बसा करके एंड दे लिव्ड हैप्पीली एवर आफ्टर। तो वही तुम्हारा ख्याल है कि दुनिया जाए इधर उधर, मेरा अपना एक नन्हा सा द्वीप होगा और जहां मैं अपना मजे में रहूंगा। पर यह भावना भी देखो तुमने सीखी तो कहीं और से ही है ना। जिनको तुम प्रेम करते हो तुम पाओगे कि एक दिन वो भी तुम्हारी ही तरह स्वार्थी होकर के सोच रहे होंगे। ये जो तुमने सवाल लिखा है तो तुम्हें दिख ही रहा होगा कि ये बड़े गहरे स्वार्थ का सवाल है। अब तुम्हारी जो प्रेमिका है वो भी ऐसी ही स्वार्थी हो गई। वो भी कह रही है कि मैं दुनिया की फिक्र क्यों करूं, और दुनिया में तो वास्तव में तुम्हारे अलावा सब लोग आते हैं ना भाई। एक व्यक्ति की दुनिया क्या होती है, उसके अलावा जो कुछ है सब दुनिया है ना। ये ऐसा ही होता है ना उसकी नजरों में। तो तुम्हारी प्रेमिका या पत्नी की नजर में दुनिया क्या है, उसके अतिरिक्त जो कुछ है सब दुनिया है। तो वो कह रही है मैं दुनिया की फिक्र क्यों करूं, दुनिया में तो तुम भी आते हो, तुम्हारी पत्नी की दुनिया में तो तुम भी आते हो ना। वो फिर कह रही है तुम्हारी फिक्र क्यों करूं, उसे मिल गया कोई तुमसे बेहतर तो वो उसके साथ जाकर के छोटी सी दुनिया क्यों ना बसा ले। जब किसी और की फिक्र करनी ही नहीं है, अपनी ही फिक्र करनी है, तो तुम्हारी पत्नी फिर तुम्हारी भी फिक्र क्यों करे, तुम्हारे बच्चे फिर तुम्हारी भी फिक्र क्यों करें। पर नहीं, हमारा ख्याल कुछ ऐसा रहता है कि हम पूरी दुनिया के प्रति तो क्रूर और कठोर हो जाएंगे, लेकिन हमारा जो परिवार रहेगा उसमें सब लोग एक दूसरे के प्रति बड़े प्रेमी और करुण रहेंगे। ऐसा हो नहीं सकता भाई, तुम नशे में हो। बच्चे तुम्हारे घर से बाहर जाएंगे स्कूल में पढ़ने, और दुनिया अगर सड़ी हुई है तो सोच लो कि स्कूल में उस पर कैसे कैसे प्रभाव पड़ेंगे तुम्हारे बच्चे पर। तुम तो यही कह रहे हो नहीं मेरा अपना छोटा सा, पर बच्चे को क्या घर में ही पढ़ा लोगे, और घर में पढ़ा भी लोगे तो किताबें भी घर पे छापोगे। किताबें तो बाहर ही छप रही हैं ना, और दुनिया अगर सड़ी हुई है तो दुनिया की वो सड़न उन किताबों में भी तो दिखाई देगी। ले आ गई ना वो सड़न तुम्हारे घर के अंदर, और वो सड़न जब तुम्हारे बच्चे तक पहुंचेगी तो बच्चा भी किसी न किसी मुकाम पर तुमसे अपना रिश्ता सड़ा नहीं लेगा? टीवी देखोगे घर के अंदर, भाई दरवाजा बंद कर लिया है पर टीवी तो होगा, और उस टीवी में अगर सब कुछ सड़ा हुआ आ रहा है तो तुम्हारी ये छोटी सी दुनिया तबाह नहीं होगी टीवी देख देख करके? नहीं, हम टीवी नहीं देखते। अरे चलो, मोबाइल फोन का इस्तेमाल तो करोगे, इंटरनेट का प्रयोग तो करोगे, और अगर दुनिया सड़ी हुई है तो दुनिया की सड़न इंटरनेट के माध्यम से तुम्हारे घर में नहीं फैल जाएगी? तुम क्या सोच रहे हो दुनिया पूरी बर्बाद हो जाएगी और तुम बचे रह जाओगे, मौज मनाओगे? नहीं होता ऐसा। ठीक है, अपनी फिक्र अगर चाहते हो तो दुनिया की भी फिक्र कर लो। The questioner asks, why do we get impressed by various people, especially by the personalities in the several fields of human activity? Why do we get impressed? Why is the human mind so impressionable? Why is everybody impressed? To understand this, we have to look at the fundamental nature of the mind itself. The mind is a born incompleteness. I'll be using the words mind and consciousness interchangeably. Our consciousness is born incomplete. In other words, we are conscious in a way that stems from our sense of insufficiency. That which we take ourselves to be, the I feeling, the I sense, is fundamentally incomplete in its own perception. Its self-assessment says, I am incomplete. It exists as an incompleteness. I says, there is something amiss, there is something incomplete. So that's how we come into this world, or that's how we feel that we have come into this world. And then that's how our life story unfolds. We look at the world, we do not just look at the world, we look at the world looking for something. So the child is there, and the child is curiously looking at this and that. Even the infant's random observation is not entirely purposeless. Even the infant's mind, the child's mind, is probing its surroundings, its universe, to get hold of something that can satisfy it. We know that, right? Doesn't a child want to be satisfied? And doesn't a child cry aloud when it is dissatisfied? We know all that. So now we grow up with this feeling of internal dissatisfaction, incompleteness. And the social processes that surround us, that make us as we are growing up, are unfortunately such that they only further and deepen our feeling, our sense of incompleteness. It is deliberately or involuntarily fed into us, drilled into us, communicated to us at every step in life, education, relationships, that there is something not right about us, incomplete about us, and that which is missing in us can be supplied by the world. So we were born with this feeling of incompleteness, and we keep assimilating the idea that the incompleteness we suffer from can be cured by the world or via the world or using the world. That idea keeps growing within us. That idea takes the shape of a personal truth within us. It is no more an idea now. It is a truth. We do not question it. We do not want to ask whether such a thing as gaining satisfaction from the world is actually real and possible. So now look at the fellow who has reached the age of 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. He is already steeped in the idea, the notion that he is firstly incomplete, secondly the cure to his incompleteness lies in the world. So now he looks out at the world. He says there must be somebody who has made it. If I am incomplete and I am being told that my incompleteness can be healed by the world, then surely there are other people incomplete who have managed to heal themselves using some super excellent, strange, extraordinary processes or efforts or knowledge. So now you look around. You want to find out that one person or few persons who have made it. You are saying, well, I am all chaotic within. But there must be somebody completely sorted out there somewhere. And now your eyes are hunting for that person. Who is he? Who is he? Who is he? And that person has to exist, because the concept of getting satisfaction through the world has become axiomatic in your mind. It is not an idea, remember, anymore. So the whole thing is saying it is possible to get rid of the inner feeling of incompleteness by doing something in the world. And if it is possible, then somebody must have done it. It's commonsensical. If it is possible, then somebody must have done it. Now, how do you know that somebody must have done it? That's where media, society, they all kick in. They point at a few special individuals and say, these are the ones who have made it. Look at them, they have everything. They have money, they have celebrity, they have status, they have all the pomp and the bling. They have ratification from not only the crowds but probably even from history. They have sanction from the state and the various institutions of society. So they are the ones who have made it. And now for you, the story is complete. The story has come to a neat closure. The truth that you were made to cultivate within has expressed itself externally in a very tangible form in the shape of that celebrity influencer. Are you getting it? What was the internal idea you were fed? The internal idea was it is possible to gain satisfaction and meaning and purpose in life by attaining something in the world. That was the inner idea. And who incarnates or personifies that idea in front of your eyes? The celebrity. So now there is no room left for doubt. The internal story, which was already a truth, has now gained external validation in the form of a mortal. It's no more a story, obviously. That fellow is in front of you, living, eating, walking, signing autographs, and you are compelled to bow down. You want to learn from him. You want to know the secret. How did you make it, sir? That's how we get influenced. What we, however, do not know is the story on the celebrity's side. We do not know that just as you are looking at him to seek guidance, he is looking at you, probably covertly, to seek validation. His celebrity status is entirely dependent on you. His feeling of incompleteness is just as deep as yours. Incompleteness is dependency. He is totally identified with his celebrity, and his celebrity status depends on you. Who are you? You are the mass. You constitute the crowds. Are you getting it? So that's the psychological basis of getting influenced, venerating influencers, and these things. The mind going through this kind of a journey becomes a lump containing nothing but impressions. No originality at all. Every bit of the mind is stamped by some external force. Every atom in the consciousness bears the imprint of some alien influence. That's how we become. The result? There is nothing called individuality left. Obviously, we won't admit that. We would say, well, I do have individuality, I do have thoughts and opinions and feelings of my own. It's just that we are so deficient in self-awareness that we do not know that that which we are calling as our own thought or feeling is actually just an import. Maybe an involuntary import, maybe an unconscious import, but nevertheless an import. This is how the game proceeds. The creature, the baby that was born with this feeling of incompleteness, lives with that feeling, keeps magnifying that feeling, manages to invent fake and ineffective solutions to that feeling. At some stage probably convinces himself that he has gained internal sufficiency, so does not need to have that feeling. and ultimately dies with that feeling. That's the story of humankind. If you want to avoid this story, firstly, do you want to avoid this story? I just casually went about saying, if you want to avoid this story. It's such a big if. Most people just do not want to avoid this story. They develop stakes in this story. They develop relationships within this story. So if you break out of this story, there is a lot that breaks down. We do not want that. But just in case there is somebody who does not like this story, then instead of seeking solutions in the world to your perceived insufficiency, you must firstly figure out what that insufficiency is really about. What does it say? What does it want? Without understanding the disease, if you run around to fetch a solution, the probability is quite high that you will treat yourself wrongly, badly, and get hurt. Figure out what is it that you want. Figure out what is it that you have supplied yourself so far as a response to your want. Figure out whether your responses to your internal wants and cravings have been successful so far. And if they haven't been really successful, only you can answer that question, you see. Only you have to honestly admit the extent to which you have actually managed to heal yourself properly. And just in case you do admit that you haven't been really very successful with healing your inner incompleteness, then you need to ask, why are you proceeding with the same kinds of treatments that have failed so far? Why are you looking at the world in exactly the same ways you have been looking at it since a decade or two? Why are you knocking at the same doors that have yielded you only disappointment so far? So you'll have to figure out what is it that you want, and you'll have to figure out what is it that does not work in assuaging your want. It's a process only for the courageous, because this process proceeds via elimination. You'll have to see what doesn't work for you, and you'll have to drop it. And then something a little extraordinary does happen. If you can honestly, rather brutally, keep dropping that which doesn't work, that which is therefore unnecessary, it does happen that something that you actually need comes your way. It comes without you really asking for it. You cannot ask for it because you do not know the shape, size, contours, and quality of it. All you know is what doesn't work. You really do not know what would work. Since you do not know, therefore you cannot ask for it. But without your asking, it does come to you. It does come to you. It comes to you unexpectedly. There is no precedent to it, no planning to it. In fact, when it comes, you may not even realize or recognize it at once. Only later, sometimes much later, do you understand what you have been blessed with. That's grace. But for that blessing, that benediction to come, you have to firstly strike out a lot of things. You'll have to internally bleed. These words would scare away only the faint-hearted and those who are not really committed to living a fulfilled life. Those who want fulfillment would know that if you can get to fulfillment at the cost of a bit of inner bloodshed, then it's not a raw deal at all. So proceed by looking at yourself and looking at what you have so far done to yourself and stay firm. All right. Next question. What is success for me, you, everybody? Is success highly personal or a common destination we all must reach? Consider a vast desert, and we all are lost in that desert. Firstly, we are lost. Secondly, our capacity to come out of the desert is quite handicapped. We are internally weak and we are carrying a lot of bondages. We do not know adequately the routes, the ways to navigate through the desert. And to make things worse, we are delusional. Sometimes we feel that we are not in the desert at all, we are already home. That's our situation. This situation is the predicament of entire mankind. We are all lost, right? So that's where we begin from. You're asking about success. I must begin from the one to whom success must come. Because without knowing the condition of the one who must succeed, how do we define success at all? After all, success has to be in my personal context, because I am the one who is right now suffering from a lack or absence of success. I am the one who is feeling defeated and down and low and insufficient, right? So first of all, I must know what my situation is like. Therefore, I began my response by detailing your situation, my situation, everybody's situation. Now, in such a desert, there happens to be one huge tower of light. almost like the one that we have at sea. You know of those, right? The ones that are erected so that ships may use them for navigation. So in the desert such a thing is there. Now you are in that desert, dark, famished, delusional, and you are using the light from that tower to come to a place of illumination. Now see what is happening. First of all, the path of each one of us will be personal. Why? Because our bondages are personal, because our weaknesses are personal, because our locations, our situations are personal. So the path that each one of us would take is bound to be personal. Correct? But the inspiration would not be personal. It's the same light that is guiding everybody. That same light is called the desire for liberation. The bondages are personal. Desire for liberation is universal. And the destination is again a common one. Therefore, success is both highly personal and highly universal. In terms of what you have to overcome to succeed, success is personal. In terms of the path that your life would take, success is personal. But in terms of what calls you, beckons you, success is not personal. The same light, the same freedom, same illumination and liberation beckons all of us. And the destination is also common and shared. At the point of light, at the point where your path meets the light tower, you find that you are free of all darkness. Not only are you free of all darkness, but also something strange comes to you. You are free of yourself. Why are you free of yourself? Because you were the darkness. You were everything that you were fighting against. Therefore, when you defeat everything you are fighting against, you have actually beaten and defeated yourself. You have gone beyond your enemy, you have demolished your enemy, you have gone beyond yourself, you have demolished yourself. So there is hardly any individuality left at the destination. Your individuality itself was your curse. Your individuality itself was what you were fighting against. Your entire urge for success, your entire urge for freedom was actually a cry against your individuality. You do not want to be yourself. You have never wanted to be yourself. Every bit of your existence is crying out to be free from itself. Right? But that freedom from oneself has to be achieved by using oneself in the best possible way. That is wisdom. Because you have no option. Right now, you are a bundle of bondages and you cannot wish your situation away. So you have to use whatever is at your disposal right now to be free from what surrounds you and fetters you right now. In other words, you may need to use your chains to cut down your chains. You may need to use your weaknesses to hack down your weaknesses. You will need to use yourself to go beyond yourself, because you are all that you have. Even if what you are is diseased or insufficient or delusional, still you do not have an option. What else do you have with you? Right? So, firstly, know what success is really about. Success word itself is meaningful only in the context of someone who is experiencing defeat. Are you getting it? If you are not living in the experience of defeat or setback or humiliation or sorrow or suffering, the very word success will not be meaningful to you. It will not even occur to you. If you are already successful, if you are already at the absolute, why would you even think of success? It's obvious, right? You think of success because there is something itching within you, biting within you, crying within you. So you must know what is it that you must beat. You must know the right definition of success. You must know what is it within you that you need to conquer. That alone is the right definition of success for you. Do not borrow your definition of success from your neighbor. Success cannot be a social goal. Your success cannot be the same thing as your neighbor's. I know this sounds like contradicting what we said in first half of the answer, where we said that finally success for all is the same destination, provided the destination is one of illumination and liberation, right? What if your delusional neighbor has defined his success very wrongly, and you, in your enthusiasm to copy him and beat him, define your success equally wrongly as he did? Therefore, be very original in these matters. Figure out who you are, figure out what is it that you must have, and then having that is your success, nothing else. The questioner is asking how to be a good entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is about initiating something, right? Doing something, beginning something. Before you become a good entrepreneur, must you not ask what is worth doing? Or is entrepreneurship merely about collecting profits rather than salaries? To many people, that is the definition of entrepreneurship. One says, I was an employee, I used to have a limited salary. Now I'm an entrepreneur, I can collect much bigger profits. I was an employee, I used to be humiliated by my boss. Now as an entrepreneur, I can humiliate as many employees as I want to. I was an employee. I belonged to an industry that would use fear and greed to compel and defraud its customers. Now, as an entrepreneur, I'm making my employees do exactly the same thing, probably even on a bigger scale. Right? Such entrepreneurship is just a continuation of what one has been since a very long time. One has been greedy, insecure, ambitious, fearful, accumulative, possessive, and all of that finds a big expression in the act of entrepreneurship. One used to compete with his colleagues. Now one is competing with the other companies in his industry. One is an entrepreneur now. And even before, one was competing with his colleagues, one was competing with fellow students, one was competing with his brothers, sisters, cousins. The same tendency to be ambitious and jealous has now manifested itself on a bigger scale in the act of entrepreneurship. Nothing has really changed. There is no dimensional change in what you have been and therefore what you have been doing. It is just a change of degree. Earlier, you were doing one thing in a small way, now you are doing the same thing in a big way. So, what has really changed for you? Such entrepreneurship means very little. In fact, such entrepreneurship is often heavily destructive. One can become an entrepreneur, for example, in the field of killing animals, cutting animal flesh, and supplying freshly cut flesh to people at their doorsteps. And this might be a successful business model. But this kind of an entrepreneurship is idiocy, perversion, profanity. You have to figure out, first of all, what is worth doing. The world is suffering a lot at the hands of super ambitious entrepreneurs already. Each of these firms that are today responsible for climate change, for loss of biodiversity, for loss of forest cover, they all would have started off as entrepreneurial firms one day. The evil was present right in the moment of beginning. The evil was present right in the very desire of the entrepreneur, the very motive of the entrepreneur when he started out. And that evil then gets magnified by 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. So be very very clear, be very honest, very inquisitive. What is it that you are trying to do and why? If you are trying to begin something just for your personal aggrandizement, then it would be a curse to the entire humanity, and it would take you down as well. Whereas if you have a larger purpose, then it makes sense to start out. We do need able and wise entrepreneurs. I must say wise and able. Wisdom comes first. And if you have wisdom, then ability can even be developed slowly. We need wise and entrepreneurs because there is a lot that needs to be fixed. There is a lot that is today broken on this earth. We need young people who come out, who set out and fix those things. Those are the kind of entrepreneurial ventures that are needed today. Not another one in the field of real estate or in the field of some general technology, not another one in the field of doorstep delivery of some goods. No. We already have enough of them. What we need is a very clear and precise type of entrepreneurial activity. Activity that restores to the earth and to mankind what it has devastatingly lost. Entrepreneurship that is not aimed at consuming more and more, but which rather is focused on healing, setting things right. So that's what you have to watch out for. Otherwise, you too can start out and probably there would be somebody eager to fund you if you have brains and energy. There are a lot of people who have capital and who want to invest their capital in young people with intellect and energy, and these young people often do succeed in multiplying the money of the investor and returning him handsome amounts, and all that is so tiring and so sordid. So do not just be attracted by the glamour and the celebrity of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is missionary activity. Entrepreneurship must be missionary activity if it is not. Entrepreneurship is a crusade. Entrepreneurship is something that you do to come to a meaning in life. You do not become an entrepreneur so that you may sell off your venture after 4 years and then move to something else to make more profits, to consume and fatten your belly. Entrepreneurship has to be a love affair. a lifelong love affair. Entrepreneurship must be something that you can persist with even if you do not make any profits. Only then obviously it can be lifelong. Otherwise, at some stage, you will give up, you will give in. You're a good entrepreneur, you're a worthy entrepreneur. If you look to make money so that the firm can keep going and keep expanding. And you're not a worthy entrepreneur if you're looking to make money so that you can consume more and more. So watch out.